Good morning, everybody. So, as usual on Wednesdays, before my podcast release, I like to drop in and give you guys an overview of some key threads that are pertinent from the podcast and things that I've learned and things that have actually helped me along the way. So, the key thread I wanted to touch on in regards to the podcast tomorrow is specifically about the fighting arts, the cultivation of health, and the mindset that people benefit from engaging these practices. So, as I've said before, you guys have probably heard me say this. I hope I don't sound like a broken record, but when I came to the martial arts, it was for self-defense purposes. It opened up an entire world for me that was not just about self-defense, which is a pretty likely story for a lot of people. There's a mind-body connection. But one of the things that I noticed right away when studying the martial arts and when I started getting into the fighting arts was that as I would study the fighting arts, for one, physically, yes, I felt better. My joints felt better. I had more flexibility. I was in my breath was in better shape. So those were all wins, and those were all great and wonderful as I was going through that process. But one of the takeaways, the thing that hit me out of left field that just I did not see coming was the shift in mindset in my day-to-day activities as I would go to school, when I would go to work, when I was talking to people, going to the grocery store. My mindset began to shift, and I began to essentially feel more confident, for lack of a better way to put it. And I think when we challenge our bodies physically, that confidence comes. And I think when we engage fighting arts, that comes. But our mindset changes, it shifts. And a lot like the movie Fight Club, which I love that movie, by the way, when they talk about, they go into the Fight Club, right? And they end up fighting people and getting into all of these fist fights. Everything else in life, the volume gets turned down, right? The volume everything drops out because the intensity of that training makes everything else seem not as hard. And I think that's one of the biggest key takeaways from studying the fighting arts is that piece and that piece alone. So people that have done sparring, people that do jiu-jitsu, these kinds of things, people that do boxing, people that do Muay Thai, if they do some kind of fighting art, something that's physically challenging, there is a mental shift that happens that's palpable and it's real. And it feels really good, and it helps you navigate life a little better. Life imitates art, and art imitates life. The things we practice usually elicit some kind of medicine for us. We can go through and do these activities, and by doing these activities, we glean something, we get something from it. So in tomorrow's episode, I drop in with Fabian Melendez, and Fabian is a guy that I went to high school with, class of 2000, Christian Brothers, represent. So we went to high school together. And right after high school, Fabian got very heavily engaged with boxing. And we had, he and I come from different backgrounds and we've studied different things. But it was amazing how much correlation and how much similarity there was between my practice of Tai Chi and the study of boxing. Now, they're very different things and they approach things very differently, but the core threads, the philosophy, the idea, the relevance of being able to coordinate and move your body, talking about ground structure, how we move how power transfers from the legs up to the upper body. It was amazing and really reaffirming kind of for both of us to talk about this and see the commonalities, the confluence amongst disciplines, as my mom says, which I always love that statement. So tomorrow we talk about boxing, and it's a really good podcast because when we go into this, one of the key threads that we sort of dance around that we talked about in my practice with Tai Chi and his approach with boxing is that these fighting arts, things that have martial application in a sense, things that have fighting application, people can engage these arts, still learn the skill set and still become relatively proficient and not embark into the world of full contact where you can risk brain injury and you can become seriously injured. You can still dabble in these things and still use them as a part of your exercise curriculum and still have tremendous health benefits and get the mental boost, right? The psyche shift that we all yearn for and that we all want and we can all benefit from. We all need the psyche boost. We all need help with navigating our life, having strategies, whether they're mental or physical, to help us adapt and roll with the punches from the trials and tribulations of life. So Fabian and I get to talk about this, and we get to talk about his approach to boxing, and the sort of the beautiful dynamic path that pursuing these kinds of things does for people. And that was one of the key threads that I think is just so important, because I think people shy away from the fighting arts, whether it's boxing or martial arts or Muay Thai or something else, is because there's usually a fear around it, and rightfully so. Sometimes, there are asshole teachers. There are people that are very macho and bully, and that can happen. Fabian is not one of those guys. He's got a very well-tempered spirit. His mind is clear, and his intent is sound in terms of how he wants to help people and provide the mental and physical skill of boxing, but in the context of cultivating health, fitness, building confidence, which we all need. It's important. So it's a great episode. You guys should check it out tomorrow. It releases at the usual time in the morning, and enjoy your Wednesday. Thanks.